Well, as we get ready to celebrate Christmas, Jews everywhere are getting ready to celebrate their winter festival, which is Hannukah. And so we're going to include a story by the Jewish writer Isaac Bashevis Singer called The Squire. Now, Singer was born in Poland, the son of a rabbi. And so most of his stories have a very spiritual message. And a squire, by the way, is a wealthy landowner, probably a nobleman, and not a Jew. He's a Gentile, just so you know. So I hope you enjoyed this story. 5 lights burned in the ancient Hannukah lamp in the Jewish study house. Potatoes were cooking in that oven, and they tickled the nostrils. Old Reb Beresh sneezed, and the boys wished him good health. He took out a big handkerchief and blew his nose, and then he said, "You know, people seem to think that miracles were more common in the olden days. That is not true. Miracles have never been common. For if they were, people would rely on them too much. The powers above want people to make an effort, not be lazy. But there are times when only a miracle can save a man." Well, something like this happened when I was a little boy in Bilgaray many years ago. Our little town was much smaller then. You know, where we're sitting now was just a cow pasture, and Lubin Street was just a little alleyway. But there lived in the town in those days a wealthy young man by the name of Falik. He was a Talmudic scholar and the owner of a dry goods store. His wife Sarah came from a fine family in Lubin. But one day, for some strange reason, their luck changed. First, the dry goods store burned down. Well, there was no fire insurance in those days. Not long after that, Sarah became ill. And there were no doctors or druggists. There was only 3 remedies: leeches, cups, and bleeding. And if that did not work, nothing else could be done. Sarah died, leaving 3 children, a boy, Manas, and 2 girls, Pesele and Etele. Not long after that, Falik himself grew very, very ill. He was emaciated and could not even leave his bed. The healer, Lippe, recommended chicken broth, barley soup, goat's milk, but nothing changed. First, Falik lost his appetite, and then he lost his income. Nowadays, people are very selfish. They just think about themselves. But in those days, people tried to help. They sent gifts of food to Falik and his family. But Falik was too proud to accept charity. He sent them all back. Finally, the community leader came and offered to help secretly. He said, "No one needs to know." Falik said, "I will know." And that was the end of that. Now, the first night of Hannukah arrived, and with it, the usual blizzard, snow, and frost. Things had arrived in such a state in Falik's household that there was not even a loaf of bread. Well, in better times, Falik had many precious things: a silver Passover plate, silver candlesticks. But the boy Manas had sold them all to buy money for food. But there was one thing left: a magnificent silver Hannukah lamp. Manas would have sold it too, but Falik said, "Wait until after Hannukah, lad, wait." And so, with his last few pennies, instead of buying bread, Manas brought oil and wicks for the lamp. The girls complained that they were hungry, but Manas said as a joke, "Let's just pretend it's the high holidays and we're fasting." Well, Falik was too ill to get out of bed, so they brought the lamp into him. And then he made the proper benedictions, lit the first light for the first night of Hannukah, and then kissed his children good night. Manas put the lamp in the window, as is the custom. And then the children sat down at a table. They were so cold and so hungry. Last year, Sarah had been frying up potato pancakes in the kitchen, and Falik had given them money to play dreidel, that gambling game that children play with coins. But now they sat at the table as if to ask, "From whence cometh my help?" When suddenly there was a knock at the door. Manas thought, it's just the neighbors offering to help, and I don't want to argue with the good people. I'm not even going to answer the door. But the knocking continued. Finally, Manas got up and went to the door, and he was about to open it and to say, Father told me not to accept any gifts when, imagine his surprise, there was a Polish squire. A tall, broad-shouldered man with a fur coat that hung down to his ankles and a fur hat sprinkled with snow. Well, Manus was so shocked and surprised he didn't know what to say. You see, it never happened that a Polish squire came to a Jewish family's house, certainly not after dark. Why, when I was a lad, and a Polish squire came to a village, he came in a carriage harnessed to 8 horses. Some would go out, blowing a trumpet to announce the arrival of a great man. When I was a lad, all of Bilgoray belonged to Count Zamość, who was as rich and mighty as a king. But to Manus, the squire said, I was riding by in my sleigh, and I saw the most beautiful little lamp I've never seen the likes of. Little flowers and goblets, a lion, a unicorn, a leopard. But tell me, why did you light only one light? I see there are 8 holders. Is this some kind of Jewish holiday? And where are your parents? Well, Manus finally regained his tongue. He knew how to speak Polish, and he knew how to speak to a great man. Your Excellency, please, please, come in. It is for us a great honor. The squire came in and began to question Manus about Hannukah. Manus explained that in days of old, thousands of years ago, his people had been subject to the Greeks and had been forced to pray to pagan gods. Finally, when they fought a great battle under their hero, Judah Maccabee, and won their victory, they went into the temple to give thanks. But the temple lamp only had enough oil to burn for one night. And yet God caused a miracle to happen, and that oil burned for 8 days and 8 nights. And ever since then, Jews have celebrated Hannukah, the Feast of Lights. They light one more candle every night. The squire listened intently, and then he glanced at the table and saw the dreidel lying on the table. Now, even though the children had no money to play dreidel, they had left the dreidel there as a reminder of happier times. The squire asked, and Manus explained it was kind of a gambling game, but depending which side the dreidel fell on, you won the money in the pot. The squire said, that sounds like fun. Why don't we play for a while? My driver has a fur jacket and my horses have woolen blankets. Let's play. Oh, Your Excellency, said Manus, our mother died last year. Our father is mortally ill, and we don't have a penny to our name. No matter, said the squire. I was going to give you 500 gulden for your magnificent lamp here. I don't have the full sum with me, but I do have some money. I can give you in advance, and with that we can play. And then the squire pulled out of his pocket a huge bag full of gold coins. He tossed it on the table. The children were so amazed, they forgot their hunger. They began to play, and even the greatest unbeliever would have seen that it was a miracle from heaven. After an hour, the squire had lost all his gold. With that, he simply sprang up from the table, grabbed his coat, and said, lost is lost. My driver must be frozen. Good night and happy Hannukah. And don't worry about your father. With God's grace, he'll soon recover. And with that, he was out the door. The children were so shocked, they just sat there for a few moments, not knowing what to say or do. And then the girls burst into tears, and Manus raced to the door to call out to the squire. But there were no tracks in the snow. Now, normally, when horses are harnessed to a sleigh, they have bells that jingle, and you can hear the jingling a long way off. But the night was silent. I'll make it short. Falik woke up the next morning. He'd been close to death the night before, and he woke up a cured and healthy man. Now, only a miracle could have caused that to happen. And so, the miracle occurred. The boys had been listening intently, and one of them said, Reb Barish, who was the squire? Was he maybe the prophet Elijah? I don't know, but he certainly was no Polish squire. Did he ever come back for the lamp? Not as far as I know. If he was the prophet Elijah, he would have kept his word. He would have come back for the lamp. Old Reb Barish didn't answer immediately. He stroked his beard and pondered the question. You know, they have a lot of time up in heaven. Maybe they came back in their children's children's time, or in their grandchildren's children's time. As far as I know, that lamp stayed in Falik's family as long as they all lived. You know, there were some unbelievers in the town who said he really was just a Polish squire, just some spendthrift in the mood to squander a lot of money. Those who try to deny God will always try to explain a miracle as some natural occurrence or some coincidence. Ah, the potatoes! They must be burnt! And then Reb Barish opened the oven door and with his bare hands pulled out the half-burned potatoes. Candles, candles, candles in the window, glowing, glowing through the night, shedding, spreading cheer in darkness, lending, sending hope and light. What are the stories candles would tell to me? What do they say in golden light? They promise that though the darkness cover me, hope is shining through the night. Candles, candles in the window, glowing, glowing through the night, shedding, spreading cheer in darkness, lending, sending hope in light. What are the stories candles would tell to me? What do they say in golden light? They promise that though the darkness cover me, hope is shining through the night. Thank you.